So we're going to look at some of the Azure core services that Azure offers, and these are specific to Microsoft, although similar offerings will be made by other clouds providers in their own unique way. As I mentioned in the last session, I introduced the cloud, and I will introduce some details of some of the main concepts and uses of these services. There are a whole host of interactive activities that you will go through the Microsoft Learning Platform in a self-directed way, basically. So those will get you to do things like create a database on Microsoft Azure portal, to create a serverless computing station or a virtual machine. So you will do that in a self-guided way using Microsoft resources. The best way of doing that is in an individual way that you can basically then remember. I have uploaded some materials for you online. You can find it under the files in here. So under the resources, you've got the links. Basically, you can go through them today. All these links actually related to the session today, to this one, and I've provided as well some books for the AI Microsoft books, basically. So it's good to have go through them. They will help you a lot in your exam for the Microsoft Azure 900 exam. So to start this session, let's first start with the objectives.
Can I check that?
Sorry?
Some writing.
Class.
Oh, sorry.
To start this session, let's just start first with the learning objectives. First, the first objective is to understand and describe Core Azure architecture components, understand and describe Core Azure services and products, understand and describe Azure solutions, and then understand and describe Azure management tools. So the Core Azure architecture components. First, we have regions. Now, first, we need to think of this as the regions. Basically, first we need to think to think of this as like the region and the geographies. And this was mentioned previously in one of the presentations, I believe. At the end of this, at the end of the week, at the end, I think it was last week. So basically, regions represent a collection of data centers. This provides flexibility and scale. So there are 54 regions for Microsoft services representing in 140 different countries. This preserves data residency, either data in stores, in general locations, in which it's being called from or used. You can select regions basically close to your users, so the communication of information and data requests and storage setup is much more rapid. You need basically you need to be aware of the region's development availability, but there are global services that are region independent as well. So in terms of the region pairs, talking basically we talked previously about the high availability and fault tolerance in Microsoft Azure services among other cloud providers. Now, the way they among us other things is to pair up regions to each Azure region is paired with another region. Now, it's prefers at least to have like 300 miles of separation between data centers and regional pair. So if something goes wrong in a certain data center or in a certain country, then there is at least 300 miles of separation between the NAT and the paired data center. And in that way, the paired data center should be safe and secure and not subject to the same issues at the first one. Some services provide automatic replication to the paired region by automatically copying that in an outage recovery is one regions. It's prioritized out of every pair. Uh, now the Azure system updates the rolled out of the rolled out to paired regions sequentially. They update region one, then region two. They never do like update two regions at the same time, basically. So this preserves the security and reliability of the system. Paired regions are where possible members of um, um, the same geography, uh, but except for Brazil.
Your Grinch look? Oh boy, Grinch moves. You're the best, Ellie Sparkles. Now hurry up and pour me a bowl.
Okay. So geographies. Now let's think about geography. So let's think about geography or so geographies are discrete markets that provides data residency um, and compliance boundaries. They typically contain two or more regions in the market. They allow customers with a specific data residency and compliance means needs to keep their data and applications in close proximity, categorized as America, Europe, Asia, Asia Pacific, Middle East, and Africa. You will notice if you are suffering the web recently, one of the recent trends over the last 18 months has been the need to request user cookies within Europe. So the update will naturally have been scaled and rolled out to all of the Europe regions and the Europe market as a whole. But it won't have to generalized to other markets because they don't have the same rules and GDPR compliance and things that there is in Europe or America or Asia or Africa. Now, I think we talked about this before, but in terms of the availability from the virtual machine point of view, so a single virtual machine, you've got 99.9% of the time of them have a problem storage. In terms of the availability sets, you are predicting against failure within data centers have here, but you've got virtual machine service level agreement with an availability and premium storage of 99.95%. Then Then for the availability zone, you've got a virtual machine uptime and storage of 99.99%. So you've got multi regions disaster recovery going on very easily here. Let's just dig down into what availability sets are. These keep applications online during maintenance or hardware failure. Now, you've got update domains, so scheduled maintenance, performance, or security update are sequenced through update domain, either happening in one domain, then the next, the next, and then the next. So that would be the individual cells of the structure of this structure. Now, fault domains would be the columns of this storage structure. Fault domains provide a physical separation of workload and across different hardwares in a data center, and this allows for Six Sigma, among other things, security and reliability. Now, make sure, guys, you're taking notes as we go. I'll be answering all the questions at once. Today's session is going to be a bit long. We cover this this part of the Azure, the core services, the core Azure services, and later we'll be covering the security, privacy, compliance, and trust. We have set of assignments like tasks for you to do. I'll be starting updating that basically in here, if you've seen. So the assignment, and I have like the list of the assignment, so in terms of what you have to do and stuff. Okay, so let's carry on. We finished the sets. Let's talk about the zone. Now, beyond this, we've got the availability zones. These are physical separate location within an Azure region, within Azure region. This takes availability sets to the next level, including one or more data centers occupied with independent power, cooling, and networking. So if there is a powerful or a cooling fault or something going drastically wrong in one data center, the next zone will be absolutely fine. So multiple zones from a region, and this acts as a isolation boundary. So that's what availability zone is. In terms of the resource group, we've got multiple different users for these. So web and database, virtual machines and storage, they might be in one group, or they could be in individual resourced, just like it's shown on the right here. Basically, it can either be together or separate. Now, this could be done using containers. So you can have one container for multiple resources that share the same life cycle. This aggregates resources into a single management unit. So rather than thinking my data store in this instant, and my cloud networking solution is stored there, my website is managed here. My virtual machine is our machines are managed here. It's all just in one container resource group. So every Azure resource must exist in one and only one resource group. Security at the resource group level. using role-based access control. So one of the core Azure services is that. So the Azure Services Manager, Azure Resource Manager, sorry, is one of the core Azure services that you may become familiar with over time. If you are working as a cloud engineer, you will be Azure Resource Manager. This gives you that the management layer that enables you to create, update, and delete resources in your Azure subscription. So creating, configuring, managing, and deleting resources and resource groups, then it lets you be far from organized about what resources are all held within the container and what's going on, and you can automate using different tools and different software development skets and or SDKs. Now, Azure Core Azure services and products. Let's first talk about the Azure Compute. So first core Azure tool and service that we are going to talk to look at is Azure Compute. This is on-demand computing service for running cloud-based application, provides computing resources such as desks, processors, memories, networking, and operation system, like virtual machine, essentially just running a computer that's not your own in the cloud. So this makes resources available in minute or second, depending on uptakes and popularity of the use, and the popularity of them and the use of time. And there are lots of on-demand services entirely pay per use. So Azure Compute Services. And now, in terms of Azure of the services, we've got how your computer services include in Azure, include Azure VM or virtual machine. They use infrastructure as a service, or is to provide computing power in the cloud. Then you've got virtual machine skill sets, and these are designed for automatic scaling of identical virtual machines, application services, um, identical virtual machines. So application services is a platform as a service offering to build, deploy, and scale enterprise grade web mobile and APIs application, generally anything that's cloud-based that runs. You know, multi-app service is going to be running something like this, for example, and then you got functions as well, and these performs compute action based on a specific event. Now, container services, basically, I have here during the slides, if you remember, we took that we'll be having some activities. I have a walkthrough here. This you can use Azure. You can create your own account on Azure using your BCU email, and they'll give you some credit basically in there. You can use this walkthrough and create it. This is like a practical part of the sessions that we do. Use Azure, create this one later. So these as well, you will find lots of walkthroughs today in the sessions that you need to complete basically in your own time. And I think I provided the I provided the links for all of these stuff. Now, let's talk about containers. Containers are a virtualization environment, but unlike virtual machines, you don't manage an operating system. You don't manage an operating system. They are meant to be lightweight and are designed to be created, scaled out, and stopped dynamically in the middle of the job or remotely entirely. So you can have Azure Container Instance that would be a platform as a service that allows you to upload your container, which will then run for you, or you can use something called a Kubernetes services. So this is a container or orchestrator, I believe, if I pronounce it right, service. For managing large number of containers, it's called an orchestrator, partly based on the idea that it works like an orchestra, and that you would be in the conductor for that orchestra. Here is another walkthrough to deploy a Azure Container Instance. By the way, these kind of tasks, it shouldn't take more than like 5 to 10 minutes. It's very easy to deploy these things, and even to create virtual machine, just like steps you need to follow. Okay, so now in terms of network services, you can have Azure a virtual network which provide a secure communication between Azure resources. You have load balancer. This is automatically scales to create highly available access to applications or resources. And then you have the virtual private network or VPN gateway. It's a platform managed, scalable, and highly available application delivery control. VPNs are particularly important if you are try to communicate to secure information remotely. So you need to be working on a virtual private network to make sure that people externally can't grab that information from an unsecure connection. Then we've got Azure Application Gateway. So, and this provides this provides for the management of traffic to web applications, and this is one of the security offerings that helps to avoid denial of services attacking against websites and amongst other things. If you are not familiar with that, you just Google it, about the denial of service attacks, or DDoS, or DOS basically. And we've got here as well the content delivery framework, which provide distributed network of services that efficiently deliver web content in their local region. And here is another walkthrough to create a virtual network.
Mohammed, one question, please, Narendra.
Yes.
When you're going to go through these activities, are these activities in the links which you have provided us in that other resources?
So basically, once you, if I may.
Because if you're going to work on the virtual labs, then the thing is the links to that.
So basically, Azure portal. So if I go to Azure portal, I think I used all my credit in there. And so basically, once you get to Azure, you will find like that's the kind of dashboard or basically page you will find in here. You use that steps basically on and here. So
Yeah. Okay, I get it. Yeah.
so in here basically you have like the Microsoft Learn.
Yeah, I get it. No, no, that's fine. That's when I was
Yeah.
not sure about
Okay.
it. I get it because of it, definitely there's a set of instructions always available to in case we
Yeah,
want
so
to get
all the instructions actually available through Azure Microsoft Learn platform.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, so you'll find everything here on this one basically. Okay, and I provided links already.
So we just log on to using our BCU account then.
Yes, you create an account using your PCU account, and they will give you, I think, £200 credit, $200 or pounds credit,
Right.
Things like this.
Okay.
Sabira?
Mohammed.
Yes. I think Sabira was raising her hand.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I need to ask one thing that these walkthroughs we can do by using the BCU email address. We still means I at least I didn't get that. So how could I use that?
Are you still don't have the BCU address?
No, I haven't received.
Same here, Mohammed. I still haven't received. I did email Rayhan, but I haven't even had a response. I haven't received any email BCU address.
I think
up to date.
I think you still can use the Azure portals even on your even on your personal email or other email.
Okay, but is there a chance you can send an email on our behalf for everyone that hasn't received? Because maybe he's gonna be bombarded with emails from all of us. But if you just collectively just send one email stating that, you know, some of us still haven't received our emails yet.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, thank you.
I was
Thank you.
going to ask the same question, but like, do you not think it, because sometimes these services do provide special discount for students, so do you not think it's gonna be like if you all got student emails to register on the platform, it might be a lot cheaper?
Even if it is not a student email, you still can basically sign up and get like a credit in there, I believe. So I think they have like so let's just check in here. Yeah, I think you can sign up for free and start using them. So it will give you like £200, $200 credits, and like it's 12 months of popular free services, always free for 25 services and plus basically. So even if you don't have a student account, you still can sign up for this and start. You can still do the labs basically.
Okay.
So don't worry. So once you sign up, you'll get $200 of free. And once we sort out I think this would be enough for most of the labs, to be honest. $200. You don't need them as long as like you don't basically overspend on other stuff. So you have to be careful how you're spending your credit in there.
Right.
So
can I add something?
creating a resource group won't take from your credit basically, or a pipeline.
Right. So in this lab, if we, because in the future, if we want to use the portfolios that we be creating, you know, like some job employers do like to see portfolios and things of, you know, your activities in the lab. Is it going to be possible to be able to export it to, you know, whatever future account we're going to be using? Apparently, the
I
BTU
didn't try, to be honest. I didn't try before, but it could be. But I
because
didn't try before, to be honest.
at a point the student emails are going to stop working. So I'm thinking, is it going to be possible to be able to export it to say, well,
Basically, once you go to the activities, you have to take screenshots, and so I'll be talking about this later by the end of this session as well. So you will be taking like a screenshots and the steps you've done and all this stuff. Okay, so no worries. I've got like set of things to go through with you guys. I think. So yeah, I think you have some article to write, and you've got like multiple labs to do as well, and also to upload them. Other than the ones that you were already having in here, we have a different stuff as well. So basically, what you will need is to take screenshots of them, and like create like a report. I've done this and this. This is the steps. This is what I found. This is the foundings of this lab and this task.
I don't get it, Mohammed. Like you're saying,
So basically, once you have these walkthroughs, right, during the sessions that you will be doing. So these you will be doing later once we finish the session. You will do the walkthrough ones, and we also have some tasks in here for you, like complete the part 1 of 6 for Microsoft Azure Cloud Concept, for example. You have read and create a video offering IaaS, SaaS, PaaS, and write a blog about difference between these and store reference and so on. And also you've got to complete part 2 and 3, and also you have a quiz in there. So once you're completing these parts, okay, while you're completing these parts, you will write like, basically you will take screenshots of your steps on Azure. As you remember, as I showed you in here, where is it? So in here, basically, so let's say I'm creating a I'm creating a resource group for this and that. So what I do, I just grab and take screenshots of this to add it to my report. Okay. So you have to document every step you're doing. In this case, you will keep track of your progress and notes of how to do things as well.
can I ask, is it just screenshots? Would you want a video? Probably just a video of the steps, and can we use video as well?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. You can use video and upload it. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll be going through these stuff later, so don't worry. I have it all so on my agenda today.
Okay.
Now, when you go through the self-guided materials, you will be creating virtual machine and container instance in Azure as well as a virtual container. And virtual network, virtual container, and virtual machine that you will be creating through on Azure, basically. Now, moving on with these, with the theory part of this, so Azure data categories. We've got structured data, semi-structured, and unstructured data. Now, structured data adhere to general schema of or structure or setup with the same data fields or properties. The relationship will be sortable in a relationship, a relational database table. So be able to be to be able to sort headings, rows, and columns. For example, example might be a sensor data and financial data. So that on this day at this moment, the price of this stock is or the share was this, and it was previously this value, it's expected to go up to this value. So all of these got a nice structure. These what we call them structured data. Then we have a semi-structured data. This might be a bit of ad hocs or as required schema or schema with less organized fields and properties. So the data relationships here would be non-relational or no SQL, which I introduced last week, I believe. So not sortable and terrible rows and columns. So an example of this term of data might be books or blogs or websites, HTML documents or JSON files. You may have heard of the term. So this is this is stuff that you can't just put in rows and columns table. In terms of the first, you can just put a book into a table with all the information from that book, the chapter and the structure of and that, and the general theme from that book, from something in terms of in the semi-structured data aspect, but you can just row that and table that easily. So that's what semi-structured is. And we've got the unstructured data. This is where you've got no designed schema or data structure. So the relationship for this would become no relational or a plot data with no restriction. On this kind of data plot, contained example might be PDFs or JPGs, pictures or videos. Do you know have you heard like about these kind of data categories before?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Semi-structured and so on. Let's see some pictures. So yeah, so basically this is a very good example. This is how the structured data looks like. This is how the semi-structured looks like. A bit of this structured, a bit of the unstructured, and this is how the unstructured look like. Okay. So the Azure storage services. As Azure, so Azure Storage Services, if we break this down into infrastructure as a service and learn platform as a service, to segment them in terms of desks for IaaS into infrastructure as a service. We've got persistent desk for Azure VM Premium Storage is available, and the desk option might be SSD, solid state drive, based high IOPs, sorry, and low latency, are very quick and powerful machines for doing left and shift operation, moving stuff, doing heavy computer quickly. In terms of files, you've got access to the REST API and SMP as well. Feel free to Google any of these terms down and note them. So note them, so make sure you remember them later. You've got access to from anywhere in a secure way. Then if we move to a platform as a service, you've got containers with unstructured data, for instance, and all the different blobs that you might have going on there. You will get an example of to work through creating a blob storage on Microsoft Azure when you go through the self-guided self-directed materials. Now, in terms of tables, we have NoSQL structured, dynamic scaling of petabyte of data, so a massive storage facility and availability there, and then you can do a very fast looking up of data to get specific information out there, really valuable to an organization if you are working something that needs quick response information. You can easily store and retrieve messages from, and the scale is very well. Now, in terms of the Azure database, and this is another walkthrough that you will get. In terms of Azure database services, the Azure Cosmos database is globally distributed database services that enables you to illicitly and independently scale throughput and storage. Storage, it gets much bigger and smaller, depends on the amount of information that in there, and you can control that and limit that basically. What I think a lot of you going to be interesting in Azure SQL database. So this is a relational database as a service, or DAAS. Database as a service based on the latest stable version of the Microsoft Azure SQL server database engine. You are going to get time to play around with creating and inserting data onto an SQL database on Azure when you go through the self-guide materials, and then you will build. We will build on that later on in this bootcamp. They're also offering a database migration in Azure. This would be a fully managed service designed to enable seamless migration from multiple database sources to Azure Data Platform. With minimal downtime, there's a whole host of other database offerings too, but these are some of the headlines. So if you need another database, another kind of databases, you can find in there as well. It's worth mentioning about Azure Marketplace. So this connects the end user with Microsoft partners, independent software vendors, and startups that offer solutions and services for Azure. So this is where Azure customers, IT professionals, and cloud developers can find, try, purchase, and provision Azure applications and services from the certified to Microsoft Azure providers, approved vendors. There are about 10,000 products listing currently on Azure Marketplace. This is just a nice, easy way for your organization to find the solutions to problems that may not exist easily or freely on the web, but that someone will have solved more than likely to be able to help you with through the marketplace. Now, Azure solutions. Let's talk about Azure solutions on Azure. So we have just got two examples of the Internet of Things offering here on Azure. So we've got IoT Central, and this is a fully managed global IoT software as a service. solution that makes it easy to connect, monitor and manage your IoT, connect, monitor and manage your IoT assets at scale. So if you got multiple different devices that are communicating with each other, you can manage those through IoT Central. And then we've got a hub, I think IoT Hub. We've got IoT Hub. This is a managed server hosted in the cloud that acts as a central message hub for bidirectional communication. So not just getting data from multiple devices, but also sending comments back out to. We have as well the big data analytics. So now if you got big data, remember the Woolley definition I gave you. I gave for big data is more data than you can store or open easily on a single machine or a single application. So we've got a solution available to you like Azure SQL Data Warehouse that leverage massively parallel processing to run complex queries where you are asking the database to return specific or general information, and it can do that using multiple machine to massively speed up the process of search. And then there's a Azure HD Insight. This is a fully managed open source analytics service for enterprise, so that the analytics part of this will do some of the data manipulation and data analytics and reporting aspects for you. So that you need for in an organization where you've got a data rich service. This is a cloud service that makes it easier, faster, and more cost effective to process massive amount of data. And then we have the Azure Data Lake. This is on-demand analytics job service that simplify big data instead of deploying and turning hardware. You write queries to transform your data, and extract valuable insights. Typically, it's used to be basically an example with the data lakes before Azure even came around, that you would have the data lake and you need just to go fishing and see what you've got cut out of this massive lake. Now what this is trying to do is partition the lake and manage that, and to try and find most the valuable insights and make most out of the lake. Now the artificial side of these solutions, in terms of the AI solutions, we have the Azure Machine Learning Service. This is a cloud-based, environment-based, used to develop, train and test, deploy, and machine learning models as well as tracking them. It's typically done in drag and drop scenarios, and we will talk about that later on towards the end of the bootcamp. So when we are preparing for the Azure AI certification. Then there is a machine learning studio, and this is a collaborative drag and drop visual workspace where you can build a test and deploy machine learning solution without needing to write any code whatsoever. If you remember, I mentioned something about serverless computing. Now, it's important to mention that you can get serverless computing as well through Azure. This is a relatively newer terminology. So this will be functions, for instance, that are code running your service and not the under deploy platform or infrastructure. So it creates infrastructure based on an event or based on what's required of it at the time. We have the logic apps, and this is a service that helps you automate and orchestrate um, task, business process, and workflow when you need to integrate applications, data systems, and services. So get data from this system, push it to that service. Make sure that it's doing this solution and meeting clients' needs. You've got the Azure Event Grid. This is a fully managed, intelligent um, event routing service. So this is a push published service model for uniform event consumption. Like everyone's getting some bit of information at the same time. And you have another walkthrough here. Oh, I guess this week you have lots of things to do. Well, let's talk about DevOps and DevTest, or you can call it development operation or development test. So in terms of DevOps, this is part of the software development background area. So Azure DevOps Service provide development collaboration tool, including pipeline, Git, repositories, and we will come to a GitHub later as well on this course. Some of you may be familiar with that, others likely aren't. So don't worry, it's just a brilliant tool to be able to share your work on some code at the same time, and make sure that you got a proper version control going on. Then we've got dev tests labs. This allows you to quickly create environment in Azure while minimizing waste and controlling the cost to test out what's going on. Now, Azure, we also have Azure services as well. This allows you to build mobile, web and mobile applications quickly and easily for any platform device. And I don't need to tell you how valuable that can be in the cloud without needing to have all of the service devices in front of you. If you can build a pretty much one application and then simulate that on the platform and devices. Now, Azure management tools. In terms of management, from an IT management point of view, this is probably beyond what you would be working at. In the first instance, but worth mentioning, so that you are aware of these tools and techniques under the terminology really for when you are going to into it, basically. And these are multiple different management tools for different things. So you've got Azure Portal, Azure PowerShell and command line interface, line interface or CLI, Azure Cloud Shell, Azure mobile application as well, to give you an extra level of control if you have Azure services running in your organization, relatively smaller scale, you might want to use the mobile app, and then there is the REST API. Now, if you don't know what the REST API is, I really encourage you to go search and watch videos about that, so to get comfortable with that. There is an Azure Advisor. So this is analyze your deployed Azure resources and recommends ways to improve availability, security, platform performance, and costs. So basically, it is how you can make the most out of the cloud. You get to proactive, actionable, and personalized best practice recommendation. There allows you to improve the performance, security, and availability. So this was all about this session, this part of the session, basically. Any questions?